This is the story of a man who tried to industrialize muscle, a scientist who became a bodybuilder who became a philosopher, and a philosopher who became one of the most controversial figures in modern fitness. He built an empire on evidence. He fought wars on YouTube. He challenged celebrities, academics, and entire training ideology. But behind the fast-talking charisma and the scientific bravado lies a life shaped by Soviet collapse, American reinvention, and a relentless obsession with human potential. This is the rise, the conflict, and the legacy of Dr. Mike Israetel. To understand the man, you have to understand the collapse that shaped him. In 1984, Moscow was a city cracking under the weight of a dying empire, factories failing, food lines growing, a nation unraveling, and in the middle of it, a boy named Mikhail Israetel. When the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, his family fled to the United States. They carried almost nothing except discipline, education, and the belief that survival required relentless work. This immigrant identity would become the foundation of everything he built.
My family immigrated from the former Soviet Union. It was the Soviet Union at the time. I was born in Moscow, Russia, and we came over in 1991, just a few months before the whole thing broke down, and moved to the metropolitan Detroit area.
Wow.
Which had flying cars and the whole thing.
Right.
But compared to Moscow, it was actually an insanely awesome place to live. And so I had to learn a new language. I have a memory of not speaking English, understanding what people are saying to me. And, I went to summer camp and I went to school and all that stuff. And I wasn't very good at school because I had like really extreme attention deficit disorder. And so I was terrible at school for most of my childhood up until I was about 15 years old. And I wasn't really involved in a ton of sports. But when I was in my freshman year of high school, still to this day, one of my very best friends, him and I were friends, and it was after school, and he was passing by and I was like, hey, do you want to hang out later? And he's like, I'm actually going to go try out for the wrestling team. And I was like, I'll join you, I guess.
Right.
And I probably wouldn't have done it unless that happened. And then getting involved in wrestling, getting involved in sport was something that ended up altering my trajectory for the long term.
At the University of Michigan, Mike Israetel wasn't supposed to become a strength icon. He was supposed to become an engineer. A mentor pushed him into powerlifting, and he dominated. He realized he wasn't just strong, he was built for strength sports. So he pivoted. Engineering became exercise science. Most powerlifters lift weights. Mike studied them. A master's degree at Appalachian State, a PhD in sports physiology at East Tennessee State University. He taught at Temple University, Lehman College, and the University of Central Missouri. He consulted for the U.S. Olympic training site. He wasn't just strong, he was scientific.
Co-founder, Dr. Mike Israetel, he was going back to school to get his PhD. We were personal trainers in New York City, and just kind of realized I didn't want to keep doing that grind of like traveling all over the city, training people, for $80, $100 an hour or something like that. And of course, you got to pay the gyms. And just, it was really hard. And in order to make a good living, you really got to bust your tail. And we started referring people back to one another because he was training people online. I was doing it in person. And we finally just said, you know what? Let's just join forces. And then that way we don't have to say, hey, you should just meet my friend. It's like, hey, this is my business partner, colleague. Right. And that was like the initial sort of scaling, that like in-person model, to now we could start coaching people online. And then just a little bit, later on down the line, we took that coaching model and we were like, let's try to scale this into a digital product, which is, much more infinitely scalable. And we were able to do that back in 2015 with some like PDFs and Excel files. And then ultimately, very high margins. That's what led to us being able to bootstrap and build an app in the background. To now we have two apps that do really, really well. One for diet, one for weight training.
In 2012, he co-founded Renaissance Periodization with Nick Shaw. The idea was simple. Fitness should be governed by evidence, not ego. At first, RP was small, templates, PDFs, a niche audience. But in 2018, everything changed. RP exploded on YouTube. Millions of subscribers, a global movement, and Mike became the face of scientific hypertrophy. But Mike wasn't just a scientist, he was a thinker. He read Steven Pinker. He debated Enlightenment ideas. He believed physical discipline revealed deeper truths about human nature. He argued that passionate engagement, not longevity hacks, was the real key to a meaningful life. And he predicted that AI would one day solve aging entirely. At 5'6" and up to 250 pounds, Mike built a physique that defied expectations. 11 training sessions a week, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, bodybuilding, powerlifting. In 2020, he won the NPC Diamond Classic. In 2024, he retired from competitive bodybuilding, but not from the mission. Then came the honesty that made him infamous. Mike openly discussed his steroid use, the risks, the ethics, the reality. Some called it refreshing, others called it dangerous, but it made him impossible to ignore. But transparency wasn't his only controversy. Mike made enemies. Solomon Nelson, the PhD controversy.
It's less a work of scholarship and more an exercise in academic masquerade. A PhD thesis is supposed to signify the creation of new knowledge. It's a testament to an individual's ability to think critically, originally, and rigorously. Mike Israetel's PhD thesis doesn't celebrate these values. It betrays them.
In 2025, Solomon Nelson published a viral critique of Mike's dissertation, Negative Years of Experience, 0 centimeter heights, Clerical Errors that went global. Mike admitted the mistakes, but critics said it damaged his credibility.
And so the PhD isn't some kind of proof of your superiority. It is step one in an academic research career, which most people don't even end up taking. That's my PhD. It's a mediocre step one to giving me a PhD, and not much more than that. Never claimed that it was much more than that. We now know Solomon was looking at an accidentally uploaded incorrect rough draft. So I'll say this, I don't blame him for going hard on it, because he has every reasonable idea to think this was the final draft. It wasn't. I guess technically I submitted the wrong draft to the graduate school.
Greg Doucette, The War of Training Philosophies. RR versus failure. Science versus instinct. A feud that refuses to die.
I'm here to tell you that Mike is wrong. Now, I know he's an exercise scientist, that he has a PhD, and I only have a master's. My channel's all about simplifying complicated information so that the masses can understand it.
Do you think the person that listens to your channel is the average person, or is that someone that sought you out because they know what you're talking about training and probably knows a little bit about training and cares enough about it to figure out how their biceps work? I mean, they're watching 30-minute long YouTube videos.
They don't know. I would say half of them are morons.
Okay, but you seem to have an interesting, very low opinion of your viewership. Do they know that?
Joel Seedman, the gimmick slayer. Mike attacked Seedman's methods with surgical precision, debates, breakdowns, and Socratic takedowns. Celebrity critiques. The Rock, Mark Wahlberg. Mike roasted their routines, and the internet reacted. Some researchers said he misinterpreted studies. Bodybuilding judges banned him. Political critics attacked his libertarian views. In late 2025, the PhD controversy reached its peak. Clerical errors became headlines. Critics questioned his academic rigor. Supporters defended him. Then came the BJJ controversy. Viral clips questioning his black belt. For the first time, the empire he built seemed vulnerable. But Mike didn't disappear. He doubled down. He kept teaching, kept debating, kept building. Today, he remains one of the most influential and polarizing figures in evidence-based fitness. A scientist, a bodybuilder, a philosopher, a disruptor. This is the legacy of Dr. Mike Israetel. If you want to see another story of power, conflict, and transformation, watch our deep dive on Mack Truck, the Iron Crip. A man who turned chaos into strength and strength into a legacy. This video is powered by pure powder creatine. You can mix this with any of your favorite drinks. It's unflavored and unapologetically potent, just the way hustlers like it. Whether you're stacking muscle, pushing limits, or running the trap with reps that don't quit, this is your go-to. Lactose-free, no additives, just raw strength and recovery power.
Move the pounds, yeah.